Hello there, friends. I have something to confess. I did the big dumb and forgot to bring my cameras in on the day I slapped that big old dirty LS into the Ranger.
It's in. Oh my god, it's in.
I'm real f***ing sorry. So in saying that, let's get into the story so far. Holy shit! Oh! Jesus Christ. Oh no, Dan, hurry! This is sort of what it looks like at the minute underneath the car. It's not perfect. I think what I'm going to do is the engine's got to go forward a little bit more and I need to go down a little bit more. I think I'm going to make some sort of gearbox mount at the minute that has like a slide in it so that I can actually move the motor forward or back depending while the gearbox is held in situ. And then once everything's finalized, I can actually weld the mount up how it sits just to make sort of the line up for everything a little bit easy. I'll go through it now and mock up a slidey gearbox mount, get this motor sitting right. Now that the gearbox is in position, it's time to tackle the tail shaft. I've come up with the plan to use a stock Ranger tail shaft utilising an aftermarket slip joint and uni to suit the 4L60E. If I measured correctly setting the engine and gearbox up, it means I should have the perfect length for the OEM tail shaft to still be used.
Oh, bolt on.
Oh, bro, it's f***ing perfect. After the quick revelation that I had indeed measured correctly, it was time to bolt that sucker in tight. Now with the tail shaft all buttoned up tight, it was time to concentrate on my favourite thing, the wiring. After removing what I knew I could get away with, I found some ECU pinouts online of what I needed to make the LS1 run. I also wired in a fuse and relay box to supply the right powers for the ECU. I also peeled with the fans from the Statesman and mounted them on the front side of the radiator support panel due to room constraints in the engine bay. I wired them to spin backwards and push air through the radiator rather than how they normally run by pulling the air through. Look, I know they're not designed to do this.
Shut the hell up!
But fingers crossed it works okay. Next up I sourced a pair of VE Holden Commodore HSV headers. Because of how I've set the engine in the engine bay, the VE headers work better, as they exit and collect further to the back of the motor and clear the chassis and the engine mounts much nicer than the earlier model headers. With a small amount of modification, they were in. Then on to fitting the modified engine loom back onto the LS1. While I was at it, I replaced the coolant temp sender that I accidentally broke while being an ape installing the headers. After that, I fabbed up a new starter motor and alternator loom to suit the body loom placement on the Ranger. Due to the LS1 ECU being a serial data style and not like the later model ECUs that feature canvas, means that I've had to wire the ECU and gearbox as a standalone system. Essentially it means that the ECU will not be able to communicate with the Ford Ranger body. Lesson learned, in the future I'll have to run a late model ECU that does have canvas in place, which will make integration and existing body functions work within the PX. But for now, I'll deal with the head f*** I've created for myself. So to give you guys a bit of an insight on how I got the bonnets on originally on the Ranger, once the guards were bolted up, I modified the factory PX Ranger bonnet hinges. So I elongated some holes, welded on a little bit of extra bits in here to bring this assembly further forward without like chopping the body up too much. And I mean, that got it good, but I know that the PX Ranger doesn't have any bolting points for guards on the hinges themselves. So I had to make up like, you know, another little bracket for these back holes up here. Now I've just pulled it all apart because the next gen Ranger hinges actually have mounting points for the guards on them. This one here is this back one there, and then this one here is this back one here. I thought, okay, fuck it, I'll give it a shot, get a pair of next gen Ranger bonnet hinges and just see what it takes to get them mounted on the PX body, because if it works and maybe just a slight bit of modification to this and I get 2 more mounting points sort of where they're intended to be, that'll maybe make life just a little bit easier. So yeah, we're gonna give it a shot now. I've already pulled the other side apart. We're gonna, you can see this is how this one sits in here at the minute. I've just bent that little tab down. So this is how I bolted it in. Literally shifted this whole hinge further towards the front of the car to get this bonnet gap close. If they work, they work. If not, they don't. Everyone can sort of see what I'm seeing. I've had to modify this piece here to get the next gen hinge lined up. So you've got to remove this little bit of foam and then chop out this little bit of plastic, and then that hinge can sort of sit in here underneath. I'll start with this side over here. Even though I've already pulled a little bit of foam out and chopped the plastic down, I will get this one off and I will try fitting this side hinge on, only because the driver's side hinge I've actually got to modify. I've got to cut that off. So I'd rather try the passenger side one where I don't need to modify the hinge, and if it fits and it looks like it's going to be okay, then I'll modify this one and I'll get that on the car, because if it doesn't work, I'm going to take these back and yeah, then we can all be informed.
20 minutes later.
Okay, so general consensus of an RA Ranger bonnet hinge onto a PX. This back hole does line up to the body, which does line up these 2 mounting points, but it sits, and I don't know if I can show you, it actually sits, it sits too high. These 2 mounting points here sit too high. If I can try and squish it down, wet up. That's sort of close to what you can see there. That back mounting point onto the guard is about probably 20 mil too high on the hinge where it sits on the body. And then this forward part here, which would bolt into there, to that one, sits probably about, I don't know if you can see it, 10 mil too high. This bolt hole does line up to that back bolt hole when it's sitting in there, but it's not going to work because, yeah, it sits too high. Now, you could cut this hinge out, I guess, if you wanted to. So I'm thinking maybe if you were to take like 20 mil off of this lower piece, and then you need to cut this section of this hinge out because it sort of rotates down low. So you'd want to chop part of this hinge out as well. I mean, you could cut it up and then like re-weld this lower piece another 10 or 20 mil further up here to get the height right. My hinges that I've already modified already sort of have everything very close. So I don't know what I want to do here. I don't know if I want to cut the fancy new hinges up and modify those, or just continue down my merry adventure with the factory PX ones. So I've already made a mounting point for the forward bolt hole. So that would be this here. This is just a little quick bracket that I've made. So I've already got the mounting point for the guard. I've already got the bonnet hinge sort of pretty well lined up and working. It would just have to be making this little bracket here, which I can always make a piece that comes from here to there. So like none of that's a problem. The hinges I think were 150 bucks each or something along the lines of that. Do I save myself $300 and just use my modified PX ones, or do I use these fancy new ones? I don't know. I'll have to procrastinate.
3 hours later.
I was hoping I could use this, but I just don't think it's worth it. I might actually just send them back because this is already pretty well close, and I'm going to have to literally chop the whole bottom side out of this to make it work, and then I'm going to have to chop this out as well here on the hinge itself, and I feel like I'm butchering it, whereas the only thing I was trying to achieve by using something like this is I could actually have the mounting points for the guards there and there done. But it's not the end of the world. If I go back to this, I can actually make my own little pickup point for the guard here and up here, and this should all work. It's just the heights are so different. This thing's a lot more skinnier, which makes the bonnet actually sit almost perfect for the guard, whereas this one here, obviously the bodies are different, and the next gen Ranger must be sort of a little bit lower in the engine bay, which makes this hinge a lot higher, and it must sit down. All right, I'm going to admit defeat. I'm going to get rid of the next gen hinges, and I'm going to say that it's probably easier for you just to modify your normal PX ones. That's what I'm going to do anyway. That's the original modified PX hinges put back in again. I'm now going to make little brackets that will mount up on here, and I will probably revise that other bracket that I got here. I've just adjusted it a little bit better, and you can see, man, it's not bad body gap. like it's pretty good. I've got to adjust the headlight up because I haven't made the bracket for in here yet. So it's not quite right. Along here, obviously I can adjust it a bit more. But I think it's pretty good. The next gen guards also, so this is how I've based everything, is the next gen guards actually bolt up here. So this is my original reference point. These are non-genuine next gen Ranger guards. They bolt here and then they also bolt down here. So these two bolt holes line up with the factory next gen guard, and that one up there does as well. So I've sort of bolted that in and then made everything else to suit that. That's as far as we are now, but it looks good. I'm happy with that. So if you're going to do something like this, probably best bet is to modify your PX factory Ranger hinges and just make it all to suit that. I think that looks okay. And the next piece of the puzzle I've got here, striker. Now my mate Dante's grabbed me these bits and pieces from his work, so thank you Dante for grabbing me the striker and the hinges. So I'm going to bolt this up onto here and hopefully don't forget, put my cable back on the latch. We'll be able to shut that down. It should centralize, lock in, and I should be able to pull the cable from in the cab. It should release, and if not, I'm gonna have to get an angle grinder and cut my bonnet open. Okay, so now the little striker is bolted on and we can now check to see what our alignment's like. I may need to modify some of this, but we'll give it a shot. So, okay, down we go. Oh, it's not bad. It's pretty close.
Wait a minute.
Maybe it just needs a little bit of adjustment, so I'll do that now. Give me a second.
Seconds later.
I can see what's going on. The PX Ranger latch is actually a smaller diameter than the next gen striker. So what's happening is as I'm trying to latch it, it's swinging over and jamming up on the actual striker assembly itself. I might just try and open up the PX Ranger latch assembly to make it the same diameter as the next gen striker, and then that should lock down. So I do that right now. Is it enough?
Nice.
There you go. So this is slightly modified to receive this. Obviously I've changed the position of it as well. That seems to work quite well.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Then I had to run the transmission coil lines in the car. I looped them at the front just so I could get a start out of the setup. Next was to plumb in the power steering reservoir and pump, and finish off a few more little things that are stopping me from giving this thing a kick in the guts.
It's time for the moment you've been waiting for.
If we blow up together, I'm sorry, okay everyone? Let's see if we can get it to fire. Battery on, ECU on. Oh! Wait. Okay, are you ready again? Hell yeah! Now we're back to it. I grabbed the original tow bar setup from the old PX bumper and fitted it back to the chassis. Then there was the task of pulling out the old diesel tank and getting it ready to convert to petrol. I had to blow this thing down and get it clean because holy shit, it was covered in crap. And it was also full of old diesel. Fuel pump of choice was a 255 Aeroflow fuel pump, sourced from my friends at Pro Performance. If you guys need any parts and you're in the Manager area, hit them up. They have heaps of Aeroflow stuff in stock. I had to modify the OEM fuel hanger assembly slightly and crimp on some electrical terminals just to make fitment easy. Once I'd buttoned that fuel pump assembly up, it was time to get that tank back into the car, get it full of fresh fuel, and bleed the fuel system up. I temporarily plumbed in the cooling system so we could run the engine for an extended period of time. I then converted the drive-by-wire pedal assembly back to cable, utilising an S13 Sylvia pedal on a custom bracket with a custom cable. After a touch more wiring, let's see if she starts off the key. probably ready to actually put it in gear and drive it out of the workshop. Dude, no way. It actually drives. This is insane, man. Straight off the headers. I hope nothing's catching on fire under the car. Dude, no way. Well, I guess we have a look, see if it's leaking anything outside. Looks alright so far. Dude, that's fucking epic, man. Now this may seem that we're close, but there is still so much to do. Exhaust system, wheelbase issues, panel and paint, heaps of wiring to do. You know, the items go on and on. So stick with me, like and subscribe this channel and video, and I'll get episode 3 out as soon as I can.